Wicked. Wicked tones, you know.
Pretty much every one of my leg workouts I do with anyone and with myself, I start with this warm up. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. It's not about to turn into a joke. A lot of gyms don't have this, so I can just use a regular one. Cry yourself to sleep at night because you don't have this one. How are we supposed to do that if you don't have that one? Stand on the fucking one where you sit down and rock on it. If people can figure out how to do a chest fly off an adductor, I'm sure you can figure out how to do a standing version of this on a fucking regular one. Popular band. The only time you ever see me use a fucking band. This can be a tutorial for girls as well. So a lot of this band work that people do, one, as you guys can see, this band is thick as shit. And this is a slingshot hip circle by Mark Bell, right? So feel free to grab actual bands that work, that aren't fucking some flimsy little piece of plastic where you can like, it's like I have to like force this fucking band open to be able to stand here. I have pressure out on my hips. I'm not, you know what I mean? If you can't keep the integrity of the band, which is knees open, hips open, and step, and my steps aren't this. I don't go, like you're getting 2 seconds of tension if I'm doing that. I'm tension, 0. Tension, 0. So it's like we want to keep the band under tension the whole time. We want to keep the glutes and the hips engaged at all times, so we're just trying to warm them up. We're not trying to like build muscle here. So I'm stepping, baby step. And it's literally robotic in the sense that I'm step, 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 step. Then you're gonna squat down here. So if you're fucking squatting, it's the same thing as I started with the band pressure here when I was stepping. I'm gonna keep that pressure as I squat. I'm gonna push it back, and I'm gonna spread band as I sit. So it's not how far can I go like this, which is like what people do. Yeah, they literally like fall forward and do whatever. So it's finding a space where I'm open already, my hip's already tight, and I can push out more and drive hip down. So I don't care about my depth, I care about my pressure out and rock out. Keep that tension and step back. I'm gonna squat again. Primarily for pecs, secondarily for adductors. So a lot of people make the mistake on this. When they start it, it's like, get yourself in position and then just start like hammering this thing. Guys do that a lot. Girls understand tempo a little better, kind of rocking here. If you let this thing sit in a stretch, that's just as good. So this 130 pounds is now stretching open here. I'm resisting naturally with the tension I have to keep to hold that open. So it's not gonna rip my legs behind me. So I don't need to rush out of here. And if you want to create a barrier, knowing where to stop, your hands can be it. So I don't need to sit up tall or do this like, or like find some spot where it's just keep your hands planted. That's the furthest you can not go now. So I can relax out on my legs and let the weight sit. So when I want to rock up, it's just this rocking out, sliding. So I relax back to this position. If I lose momentum or lose my rhythm, I slide again. Even if I want to relax here and get more stretch, I can lean to one side. I can lean to one side. I can relax forward more here. I can force this stretch, and then I can go again. It's about opening up your adductors and opening up your groin, right? It's not about, not everything in the gym is about how hard you can push it or how heavy you can push it. This will go up because I need more resistance to push me open wider. But it's like, don't get on every machine and try to use them for what they're for, right? Take different roads on how to use them, I guess you could say. So I would use that, not thinking that I'm going to do adductor machine and all of a sudden my inner thighs are going to be massive. It's like, no, guys and girls, That comes from like doing proper depth and squats and understanding how to fucking press out of the hole. Shit like that. That's what develops those inner thighs. It's not adductor machine. It's literally like a warming up device. Or getting an area to like wake up, rock, rock, rock. There's not even enough range of motion on that fucking thing other than to get a stretch. You understand? Even when you go to contract, it's bang, bang. I'd almost want my legs to be able to drive up or something so I can get more drive up into squeeze my legs together. It's literally just, and I can hold it there. I can hold that like contraction when I bring it. I can hold it there and flex my groin and let it relax. But it's better to just feel this opening, rocking. Almost feel like it's pulling your hips open, relaxing hips. Because here we're pushing out on hips. We're forcing pressure outward on hip, stepping outward on hip. Then there we're letting hip get relaxed open and fire in now. So we're reversing that, right? Not everything in the gym has to be pretty and showing off how fucking badass you are. Like some stuff's getting you ready to do work, right? There's a reason why I do this with everyone I train. One, because I learned from my hip issues that you need hip mobility. You need to like wake up glutes. You need to get these things firing or it's gonna fuck you in the long run. So it's like, why don't we just do this with everybody? That way it's like out of sight, out of mind. They just do this shit. It sucks for fucking 5 minutes and then they're done with it, right? But it serves a purpose. There's a lot of people in this industry nowadays that like, one, they're not bodybuilders and they're trying to influence bodybuilders. They're trying to fucking like hocus pocus them with their fucking, oh I'm a mechanical expert, all this shit. Great, you're a physio guy, fuck off. Anyway, that's cool. Go do physio shit. Go work with athletes. We are not athletes. We are not moving dynamically. You're not accelerating, decelerating, changing direction, balancing to any degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're all this application of stuff, it's kind of wasted, man. So you'll notice because you'll be able to pick these guys out from a crowd real quick because they got people doing functional shit and like lunges. Lunges, they've convinced themselves are the most athletic, most like, how would I even say this? Like, it's almost like if you can't do a perfect lunge or your lunges aren't, then everything else after that is falling apart. Which is true in a sense. You should be able to understand how to manipulate your body from one leg to another, doing a lunge and like stabilize yourself. But it's not the end all be all. It's training wheels on a bike, right? We don't keep the fucking training wheels on the rest of our lives. We use the training wheels until we understand how to ride the bike, and then it's like, okay, now we're moving for real. We're not doing like lunges, right? It's honestly because there's very few people in the world, even if they're like highly trained athletes, you can always tweak something on a lunge. No matter what. There's no one out there that does a perfect lunge. That might be a little too much like forward motion, like forward over their knee, a little too much knee flexion, not enough pressure, not enough like relaxness in the back knee, not enough hip into sink into hip. There's always something to correct. So you can always convince someone they could be better.
It's easy, yeah.
It's easy to do because everyone's got imbalance issues and shit. It's like when you go to a fucking trainer at a box gym and you go for a fitness assessment and they get you to stand on a Bosu ball and do a squat and you're like this because you've never fucking stood on a Bosu ball before. It's like, oh, your core's weak. No shit. My core's really weak when I try and stand on an uneven ball and squat down because I've never had to do it before. But if I had done it a million times before I did it with you, I'd probably just go, and you'd be like, ooh, see, but now your ankle mobility's off. Movement gurus, let's say, put it nicely. Could say snake oil salesman, but I guess that's a little harsh. But these guys like, and girls, are convincing people that like, oh, this style of movement, you're not activating this. Once you activate this, you'll be this and this and this. It's like everything's gonna make sense once we get this all going together. But it's like you see these people working out with people like that, and nothing's improving. Maybe they think it is because like, oh, I'm more stable now when I balance on one foot and pick my nose, and then scratch my ass at the same time on one foot. I feel more centered in my body. That's okay. Well, how is that carrying over into anything you're doing?
It's
Because when you get under the fucking hack squat with 2 plates on it, it's still a fucking gong show because you're not fucking moving right. Or you're thinking about how you're moving so much that you're moving wrong. So these movement guys and girls, get your people on the machines and the equipment they're using to build muscle, because they are not fucking athletes that are going to be sprinting down the fucking 100-meter track anytime soon. Get them on the machines they use and fix what they're doing on there. And if you can't do that, don't be here. Because these are the tools of our trade. If you can't make them functionally better at these tools and getting them to use the tools better, there's no need for you to be here. Because like you said, this isn't the Olympics, man. And this isn't the NFL.
Wrong clientele.
You're in the wrong place, man. You're here to look good and eat tons of food and be lazy. Like if I wanted to be a fucking athlete, I'd be a fucking athlete, right? But I chose this road because I'm like, I originally, I told someone this the other day, when I finished playing football, I moved into bodybuilding right away because I loved bodybuilding, thought it was cool. But it was also the easiest transition to me because it immediately cut my workload of like stress in my life in half. All I had to do was lift weights. I didn't have to play football anymore. And I actually liked lifting weights. So, and all I had to do for my whole day, the peak physical activity of the day was just lifting weights, and then I got to be doing nothing. So I was in the gym for like an hour or whatever the fuck it is, and then I got to go home and do fucking nothing and do the other thing I'm really good at, eat and lay down. I'm fucking great at both of those. And I was like, man, this is the best thing ever, because this sport encourages me resting all the time and eating all the time. It's fucking crazy. What a sport. This guy wrote me the other day. He actually wrote me last night. He was asking about training. I want to train, da 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 da. I really struggle with my bench press and like my pressing power. Like my bench press isn't strong. Da 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 da. I want to learn from you. Yeah. So he's like, so I wrote him. I said, "Are you a competitive powerlifter?" And he writes back, "No, but I've been like," starts explaining his lifting history. And I'm like, and I ignored whatever he wrote. I'm like, because if you're not, why the fuck are you bench pressing? This dogma of bodybuilding is so entrenched that like even your average person, who this guy can be considered average, thinks that if he's not strong at benching, he's less of a man, or he's just not doing well at life, right? It blew my mind because I'm like, everyone like from him down the line has equated these certain lifts to equating to you being strong as a person or having experience lifting or developed whatever it is. Because even today I went to a consultation with a shoulder surgeon, orthopedic guy, to get my shoulder looked at for a possible replacement. And the first thing the guy says to me is like, if you get this shoulder replacement, you'll never be benching 300 pounds again. And I'm like, who the fuck said I did right now? I haven't benched 300 pounds since probably 2011. That's over a decade that I haven't even tried to bench that much weight ever. See what I mean? So it's like, but he sees like a big guy who's like muscular or whatever, and he's like, oh man, and like and they don't want to do these shows. He was a cool dude. I didn't mean to make fun of him. He was really helping me out, but he was just kind of saying like, these surgeons who meet with you, they're going to be hesitant to help you because they think that you're going to ruin it, because you're going to go back in the gym and do all this stuff. I'm like, bro, I just want to do this with my arm. Without pain. Yeah, that's it. Even if it goes that high with some pain, I'd be happy. It doesn't do that. It doesn't do this either. It doesn't rotate open, and I can't pull in on this side. So it's like, why would I? Because my concern is not the 300 pounds I could be lifting. It's just living life, right? It's crazy how people equate stuff, right? And this is a person who's like this is a doctor, a sports doctor, like dealing with teams and stuff. That's how involved how evolved the rhetoric is, and it's crossed over into sports. So man, if you want to pitch faster this year, we got to get your bench press up. We got to get your deadlift up so we get that explosion off the ground. It's like, no, just be a better pitcher and work on the mechanics of pitching. Yeah, but like don't correlate these big movements as being like, oh, they're gonna add so much to your life or so much to your development of sport. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? No one even knows where that came from. If you ask anybody, and even people in the comments, tag or fucking cite where you heard that. And I guarantee you, if you can cite it or talk about it, it's probably from a medical journal or a sports medicine journal from like 1957, 1962. Well, it's been shown that like bench pressing leads to like hypertrophy in the chest, which leads to more explosive, like whatever the fuck it is. It's just so outdated, right? And
Do you think football players should have the bench press during
combine?
Yeah.
No. I don't even know why it would fucking matter. It's just a relic. They honestly do that. The honest reason why they do the 225 test is because they don't want guys 1 rep maxing. Because they don't want to risk some first round draft pick going for like a 500 pound bench press and popping his pec, tearing his tricep, right? So it's like, well, we'll just give them a lower weight and then we'll equate how many reps they can do there to equate to a max bench, right? That's how they're equating it. So I get it on their part, but it's like just abandon it altogether, guys. Like even if you did like you know how there's like they have the ball that hangs and the people punch it and it gives them a readout. There's also like a pad you can hold where it measures like the power of someone's kick in like MMA. So they hold it against their side and the guy kicks it and it registers, right? Like just have one of those on a like a test, like a dummy for like a little whatever, and just have the person shock it and see their force per square inch or whatever it is, right? And go off that, be like, oh man, he's got a lot of power. Like that would be more indicative of his on-field performance than a 225 test and a 1 rep max, you know what I mean? Because everything else they do isn't based on strength. It's all based on speed and agility and like basically ability to adjust and be agile, right? So why are you keeping this relic in of, you know what I mean? And if you're going to test for that, why aren't you testing for squat? I would assume that the squat would be safer for most guys. Like you give them like a percentage of their, body weight, 60% of their body weight, let's say, and just see how many times they can rep it out. Because they're not as likely to hurt themselves on like a lighter to mediate heavy squat than they are of like just banging out bench presses all the time, right? Not to mention they're just like clink, 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 boom, 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 boom. It's like, it's an endurance test at that point. Like I benched 225 in college for 52 times. But I also had a fucking strong ass bench. So it felt like I was literally flinging a feather around until like lactic acid built up and I was just like, oh, I can't push this anymore. It never got heavy, it was just my arms and like everything started burning and I just lost the energy to be able to push, right? It's just weird to me. It's just the old adage though, like everything in life, like this is how we've always done it. Well, this is how we've always done it and eventually needs to die, right? Well, Laura says that Laura says all you powerlifters out there are fucking capping, bunch of liars. What is the minimum score you think a powerlifter should hold totals? Male.
Those are guys. A guy?
Male.
At least 1,000.
Yeah, even that's soft.
Even not soft.
This guy's pulling 1,000-pound deadlifts.
Yeah.
So you gotta be. I don't know, man. Should make a shirt. Should make a shirt. See, I see fake powerlifters. That I see natties.
If you're a guy and don't.
I think real powerlifters should be coming out more. Like genuine powerlifters who are fucking just animals, coming out and just calling these fucking losers out. Like this guy's pretending to be powerlifters in gyms, fucking coaching people and shit. Don't know shit about the sport. Never competed. Freaking telling people how it's done. Motherfucker, you don't know. You've never had to do it under pressure. You've never had to do it at a meet. You've never had to do it not looking in a mirror. It's the cop out though, right? So a lot of people like, I'll train a lot of guys and some girls here and there. And you'd be like, oh, how were you, like say, how are you lifting before? Oh, I was powerlifting. It's like, and I'll be like, so you compete in, no, it's just like how I was lifting. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
I shot a basketball in 2011. Am I in the NBA? Or I go to the arcade, I go to Dave & Buster's and I throw fucking hooks on the punching bag thing, and I punched a 900. Fucking boxing's no problem.
Pretty good.
I think it's sad that people just can't be themselves. Just do your fucking thing, man. Be happy with who you are. No one gives a fuck, really, so don't pretend to be something you're not. Because even the people you're trying to impress are a bunch of pretenders, too. So it's just a bunch of frauds impressing frauds, right? My total's 2,000, but like, I don't do that anymore. I gave that up, Looking to switch over. Yeah, I'm looking at, because I've just been hurting. That's why I get a lot. I've been hurting myself a lot, and just like I need to like get more bodybuilding style. It's like, yeah, well, why weren't you doing that before? Because you weren't competing in powerlifting. You just thought you're just the guy who thought lifting heavy was going to elicit results, right? So better you just come up to me or a person like me and be like, yeah, like I was stupid. And I was like thinking whatever. A lot of like bigger dudes too are guilty of this. So they'll be like a little, let's say it nicely, overweight. And their cop out is, I was just lifting for power. I wasn't trying to like get big. I was just trying to like be strong. None of that has to do with being fat. You don't have to be fat to be strong. No. I mean, just so happens some guys are. But like in general, you don't see the top guys in the world are just blubbery messes. Like, not at all. Enough about that till the fake powerlifting community comes after me. Speaking of fake powerlifters and like guys being obsessed with like how much they're lifting, it's like, it's great like when someone says, like people write in the comments too, well, man, some people just like to be strong and blah, blah, blah. That's great though, but like strong for what? And relative to what? So like, what do you need to be so fucking strong for? What is this perception that you need to be strong for? Like, I don't know what you're doing on a daily basis. So most people only need to be strong enough to maybe lift up their kid, carry groceries, and move the odd heavy thing around their house. That's about it, man. Like, you're not picking up human beings, fucking tossing them around. You're not an MMA fighter or something. So it's just like, when you hear yourself saying that to yourself or to someone else, just think to myself, I sound kind of dumb right now because I don't know what I'm being strong for. Whereas a powerlifter knows exactly what him or her is being strong for, because their sport is strength. So outside of that, it doesn't matter what you do. No one gives a fuck. At the request of someone in my comments, I don't know who you are. Sorry. You don't know who you are when you hear this. I'm gonna try a thing where I tag me in certain people's workout videos, certain people's clips, and ask me to rate it. And we'll rate it from like
5.6 to 1.
Yeah, or just absolute trash to fucking good, right? So there's gonna be no critiques on like how you could do it better. It's just no. You ask me to say what I think it is, you're gonna get the straight fact of like the straight meat of what I think it is, right? So we'll try that. If it gets out of hand, I'm just gonna ignore everybody, but if it's actually fun, we'll keep doing it. We'll do those like cross split screen things like Dave Tate does when he looks at the people's deadlifts or their squat. So we're ripping Dave Tate off, but we love Dave Tate, so I'm sure he'll be okay with it. At least we're giving him credit.
Sure.
A lot of people in the industry don't give anyone credit. They're constantly stealing people's shit, from the way they do their subtitles, to the way they film their videos, from the way they do their edits, from the way they use black and white. It's weird. No credit is given. Not me though. There's a thing I've been doing with my clients, some of my clients lately. Well, one of them is just uncoordinated and can't actually perform a lunge because they don't understand the structure of the lunge, like how to even balance themselves. And the other examples are just like certain like guys that are taller, they have a hard time with lunges as well, because like we've talked about ankle mobility and like just the length of the leg, length of the femur, length of the tibius, like everything's fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like hard for them to understand that depth and really relax into their legs. So a lot of the times, like, what I'll do to like compensate for that is if someone doesn't understand how to do a lunge, it's like, let's put them in a lunge position where they're like toed up and I'm weight on my front leg so that I can understand the length of the lunge that needs to be, and I can break in here and rock. So I can use this as a guide to keep my chest up, and I can rock. So it's a split squat to anyone watching. It's what it is. But we're just helping ourselves more. It could also be good for people with injuries, coming back from injuries. So it's like I'm holding on to something and I'm bracing. I have some pressure up here so that I can alleviate the stress on my front legs a bit. But I'm just getting used to that dropping and pressing up feeling, up and down, right? So get your clients to do that. Or the rest of you do that when you're, like if you're gonna do lunges with a superset off of like, and your legs are toasted, right? Like better you find somewhere to do a lunge like that than to like be lunging down a long pathway and your legs are fucked and you're falling down for a rep, or you're, you know what I mean, trying to like gut out these reps. It's like just split squat it, give yourself some support in the front, or even find like side supports if you can find side supports, and do it off side supports, right? It's hard to find in the gym that there is that here, but some gyms have this machine. It's better to think on this machine or anything kind of like it, where it's just like, I don't even know what to fucking call this. Fucking ski jump squat. I feel like you're fucking like, you know what I mean? Those guys who jump off like the, so it feels like. But even if you have that posture, it's a good idea. That my weight's back in the back pad. My feet almost feel like they're spread out like hands. Like I'm wide as I can be in my feet and setting my knee. So it's just my knee floating up, and then I'm pressing off. As soon as I feel stomach touch quad, I mold into it and press away. So I'm not trying to feel quad and go. I'm trying to set, squeeze, pushing feet down, pushing knees back, right? So you're settling and then squeezing. Nothing in legs is about jumping off or like pushing as hard as you can off the pad. Everything with legs is molding into the pad, firing off the pad, right? So imagine you sink 2 inches deep into that foot pad before you push. Like it's rubber or like quicksand. So like my normal sink would be people just coming off here, pushing off here, pushing off here. I want my weight from here to go back out. I want to feel that. I'm trying to shove weight through that thing and fire it the fuck back out. 27, 28. It almost feels like on the swing squats, there's other ones like this, there's independent ones. Obviously each foot. It's like, if you brace too hard, like this is another lesson in tempo. If I brace too hard in this, and I bring this in, I almost blunt my power, like, cause I'm stuck, right? I get dug into my hip too much. I get too tense in my hamstring. Whereas if I'm pushed back here and I let my feet feel like they're rocking, it's more of like an up and then a throw. So it's able to just rock up, push, push. So I'm using that momentum that's driving me into the back pad to push off the back pad. So it's almost like if I was exaggerating, I'm going whoop into here and I'm pushing out. So I'm catching weight, throwing weight, pushing through. So my lower back almost flattens out when I press. There's no arch ever. It's just tall back, long lower back, and throw those feet out. Push, push. A lot of people make the mistake of over bracing on this shit or anything like it, and they're like, it turns into like these quarter reps, like, and like put like 6-7 plates on it, and they're fucking, everyone's like, oh, it's crazy. You got like 2 inches of movement. Surrounded by bigger guys here. On bro chat with like some big dudes who train and stuff like that, and it's just a common thing because I was a bigger guy when I trained. It's like, at what point, how do I put this? At one point do you think that you're big enough? That you need to stop following the rhetoric of like, I gotta lift heavier all the time, I gotta eat more, It's like, at what point do you understand that the foundation is so good that you can pull back a bit? Because it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
The size is not gonna go anywhere. It's not like if I stop, if I'm me today and I'm competing and I'm healthy and body feels great, if I stop going for fucking PRs on the incline Smith machine every week, it's not like my physique's gonna suffer, because it has so much history behind it and so much muscle built already. That muscle doesn't need much stimulation to stay where it is, or even to stimulate it more and grow. You don't need to keep shocking your body all the time. I really don't believe that. Like, I think to a certain point, to reach a certain point of development, you do. Don't get me wrong. I think it's important that you push yourself and lift these heavier weights and go for this like progressive stuff in a very intelligent manner. But it's like, especially guys getting later in their careers, maybe not even later in their careers, like just moving into the 30s, they've been lifting like that for like a decade, let's say. And they're starting to like be like, oh man, like this is taking a toll. Like I can feel stuff's going weird because I get these little tweaks, and like it just could be like you're constantly tweaking your back, or there's some type of issue with your hamstring all the time. There's just these little nagging things that are always happening when you're trying to keep with the pace that you have. And that should be a fucking massive red flag that it's time to divert to another path. Not that that path's gonna be worse, it's just different, man. And it's gonna stimulate just as much. The weight might lower, but the intensity might go through the roof. And the amount of reps might go through the roof, or whatever it is, right? Stimulation. So you bring in other things that can help you create that same type of stress without having that acute stress of loading all the time, where I'm like, I got to get under the 6 plates on that Smith machine over there and squat it, or I'm pathetic as a bodybuilder. My legs will stop growing. It's like the guys that are thinking like that, you guys, your leg is fucking 28 inches around, 32 inches around. It's not going anywhere, man. You literally have to like get some terminal disease, like muscle wasting disease that just eats at your body, and you don't eat anymore, and you just wither away to nothing. You'll be fine. The tissue will hold. You're still in gear. You're still eating the way you should. You're doing everything you should, rest-wise, recovery, but you're getting older and you're getting more intelligent, and you're shifting towards more intelligent ways to continue to be able to do what you're doing, but keeping that muscle working and doing what it's supposed to do. Let the muscle work for you. Stop trying to think that you have to force more muscle on. Understand that you have a foundation of muscle that no one else has, especially if you're a certain size guy, and use that to your advantage. In essence, think this: some of these body parts I'm done with. You're not done with them, you don't stop training them. It's like, oh, I never train shoulders again because my shoulders are perfect. It's like, no, I just know I need to just stimulate shoulders. I just need to stimulate legs, because my legs, like, let's say you have Antoine's legs. You just need to stimulate those fuckers, man. They don't need to grow. They're world class, right? So it's like, let's focus our attention on the stuff that needs to grow and divert and like be smarter about that. And understand that this other stuff we have that's our strength is taken care of. We're gonna stimulate it. We're not gonna let it fatigue or atrophy in any way, but we're just not gonna put so much emphasis on it. And we're gonna take our overall stress from our workload in the week. Instead of it being every day we're hammering, it's like today I'm like, you could say it's cruising, but not cruising. It's just like I'm going through this workout. This is just a chest workout. I'm just trying to get blood in there, feel good, maybe push a couple heavy sets here and there, get out and have fun. And I know tomorrow, my back day, is when I'm gonna ramp it up, because I gotta do a lot of stuff on back. It may not be a lot of weight. I need to hit a lot of angles. I need to do a lot of different exercises to get my back to hit properly, right? So you're just adjusting the stresses of the week. So it's not every day is fucking nailing the fucking hammer. Like the hammer's just banging the nail, boom, 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 boom. Some days you just fucking give it a little tap, 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 tap. Just put it in there slow, man. Boof, like, you know what I mean? Like,